Detecting giftedness. Gifted/learning disabled children tend to have unusual discrepancies between their strengths and weaknesses. Twice exceptional students are at a disadvantage because gifted program placement usually depends on full-scale IQ scores, averages of highly discrepant subtest scores. Verbal and performance IQ scores can severely underestimate cognitive strength of twice exceptional children. Many children with gifted abilities fail to qualify for gifted services because of the rigid adherence to verbal, performance, or full-scale IQ cutoff scores and unwarranted time limits on such assessments. Problems occur in scoring because of bonus points being awarded for faster speed in answering assessment questions, depending on the age of the student. Therefore, if a student is retested at a later age, their IQ score could actually decrease due to the speed demands. IQ tests at younger age actually provide a more accurate estimate of a child's ability than assessments at an older age. Assessments such as the WISC-3 that measure abstract reasoning are more appropriate predictors of success in gifted programming than full-scale IQ scores. Many of the sections of this type of assessment are untimed, therefore it will provide a better estimate of a child's intellectual power. Detecting giftedness continued. Assessment should be catered to an individual's learning disability needs. Many gifted children with learning disabilities perform better on measures of achievement rather than on measures of ability. When a twice exceptional child achieves in the gifted range on a section of an achievement test, that should be taken as a sufficient proof of giftedness regardless of lower IQ scores. Test anxiety plays another factor in assessing gifted children with learning disabilities and do not perform well on either ability or achievement test. Visual information processing deficits, sensory integration dysfunction, and untreated ADHD make it near impossible to ensure true assessment outcomes. Therefore, in these cases, their vocabulary, their contributions to class discussions, their sophisticated concepts, their moral sensitivity, their extensive knowledge in their given domain, and the presence of giftedness in siblings should all be taken into account and given greater weight in placement decisions than test scores. Detecting disabilities. Twice exceptional children are frequently misdiagnosed because their scores are average, masking both their strengths and weaknesses. They are compared to the norms of average children instead of their own strengths. Their lower scores may be significantly below the norm. Their ability to compensate often inflates their lower scores. The magnitude of the disparities between their strengths and weaknesses is not fully taken into account. Tests are normally viewed from a normative perspective because diagnosticians are taught to do so. This means that some students with dramatic discrepancies may be overlooked if their score falls within the normal band. Two key diagnostic indicators of giftedness combined with learning disorders are significant disparities between strengths and weaknesses with some subtest scores in at least the superior range, and succeeding on the harder items while missing the easier items. When both are present, it is likely that the child is twice exceptional. To what extent does the discrepancies between the child's strengths and weaknesses cause frustration and interfere with the full development of the child's potential? Detecting disabilities. Before assessing, it must be ruled out that a child is inattentive due to academically understimulating environments. Gifted children with true ADHD are able to focus when work is more difficult and engaging. Therefore, a gifted child who demonstrates extensive hyperactivity above the norm in an appropriately challenging environment is likely to be truly ADHD. Gifted individuals may not demonstrate the typical manifestations of a disability because their intelligence enables a person to compensate and disguise their weaknesses. They can only handle hiding their weaknesses until the workload increases in later years of school. Compensation is the joker that masks the full extent of disabilities in the gifted. It always must be taken into account in the assessment process. Dual exceptionality in the classroom. The most common symptom of dual exceptionality encountered by teachers is an extremely bright child who hates to write. The chapter provided us with a diagnostic checklist of writing disability. Students who exhibit at least half of these signs are likely to suffer from dysgraphia. Gifted underachievers should be assessed for a writing disability. As schools become aware of societal technological shifts, twice exceptional children will find more success in the classroom. I also included a quote, and it says, "We create underachievers when we refuse to allow disabled children the tools they need to succeed." The chapter also provided us with a list of strategies for success. The first strategy is learning disabilities must be detected as early as possible. The second one, gifted children with learning disabilities need individualized education plans. Number 3, because processing speed is usually compromised in disabled learners, time tests should be avoided. Number 4, more emphasis should be placed on the child's strengths than on the weaknesses. Number 5, children with writing disabilities should be taught keyboarding skills and allowed to use a computer for all written assignments. Number 6, compensation strategies should be actively taught to twice exceptional learners. Number 7, many gifted/learning disabled children think in pictures instead of words. Number 8, non-sequentiality is another common ingredient in the profiles of gifted children with learning disabilities. They do not learn in step-by-step fashion like most learners. Number 9, many of these children are whole part learners. Number 10, visualization techniques should be used liberally. Number 11, assistive technology should be considered, such as AlphaSmart, Calculator, or Franklin Speller. Number 12, writing assignments often need to be shortened, and oral exams may have to be substituted for some written exams. Number 13, for disabled learners, grades should not be lowered due to mechanical difficulties. Number 14, if they learn complex work easily yet struggle with simple materials, twice exceptional children will need advanced concepts even though they have not mastered the easier work yet. I'm going to show the Temple Grandin videos now.
I think it's important for a teacher to display a passion for the thing that they're teaching. Some kids don't know where their passions are. How could you know you'd have a passion for a musical instrument if you've never played one? When I was in elementary school, I was very good at art, and my ability in art was always encouraged. Mother and my third grade teacher worked together as a team. If I hadn't had art, I would have gone nowhere. One of the things I've talked about in many of my talks is how there's different styles of thinking. I am a total visual thinker. It's sort of like Google for images. Let's take airports, for example. There's no generic airport. I'm seeing specific pictures of all the different major airports. Now, I used to think everybody thought that way. And then I started learning that there's other kinds of thinkers. I'm seeing too many kids getting fixated on their label. Now, I consider myself an animal science professor first, and the autism comes second. Now, people say to me, if I could snap my fingers, would I want to be, not be autistic? No, I like the logical way I think. Montessori does a lot of hands-on things. And one of the worst things that many schools have done is taking out all of the hands-on things. And I want to see people develop to get really good at things they really like doing and be able to use their abilities in interesting work. you never get cured of autism. But what you do is you learn better, is you learn more and more things.
Well, I didn't speak until I was 4. Now I have a BA and a master's, and I'm studying for my doctorate.
I can remember the frustration of not being able to talk. I couldn't get my words out. My speech came in gradually, a few words at a time. When I was a little kid, I was very autistic, nonverbal, rocking. That's the kind of kid they just put away in the institution. But I had a speech teacher that worked really hard with me, and I can't emphasize enough the importance of young children getting early intervention. You got a 2-year-old or 3-year-old with no speech, don't wait. High school was absolutely worst part of my life. Teasing. I got kicked out of school for throwing a book at a girl, teased me because, teasing really made my life miserable. And the only places I could get away from teasing was the specialized activities. Things like horseback riding, electronics lab, model rocket club. The line was drawn in the sand. I was not allowed to become a recluse in my room. I had to get out and do things. I'm always kind of baffled at just how illogical people are in their thinking. I'm very logical in my thinking. But when I was younger, I didn't know that other people thought more in words. You see, I think in pictures. If I don't have a picture, I don't think. And my mind is very, very associative. Being a visual thinker, I tend to put things into categories. You see, autism is a very big spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you got half the people at Silicon Valley. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got somebody who's very handicapped, remains nonverbal, is going to have to live in a supervised living situation. Really, really big spectrum. And, Einstein probably be labeled autistic today in a lot of school systems because he had no speech until age 3. I'm interested in seeing something that makes real change. I've done a lot of work that's made a lot of improvements in the livestock industry, and I think I've helped a lot of kids succeed. I want to see the kids that are like me succeed. That's the kind of stuff that makes me happy, when I see the things that I do make a difference.
And finally, your discussion questions. Looking at this quote from Silverman, visual information processing deficits, sensory integration dysfunction, and untreated ADHD make it near impossible to ensure true assessment outcomes. Therefore, in these cases, their vocabulary, their contributions to class discussions, their sophisticated concepts, their moral sensitivity, and their extensive knowledge in their domain, and the presence of giftedness in siblings should all be taken into account and given greater weight in placement decisions than test scores. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Why or why not? Second question, how can a classroom teacher recognize twice exceptional children? Last one, after watching the Temple Grandin videos, what can we as educators learn from her and her experiences as twice exceptional individuals?